What's up, everybody? Brett here, and we're back today. It's Friday, and despite all the craziness going on with the world, we know what Friday means. If you're a Battle Brothers fan, it means more news. And this time it's going to be the City States Part 2 Devlog 131. We've previously covered a good chunk of what the southern city states are about. Now it's time to take a look at some of their troops that you may end up facing on the field of battle. Charge. So, I couldn't help myself. I was laying in bed. I had to wait a little bit to start recording today. So I decided, I didn't read it. I just looked at the pictures. And the pictures, man, there's an awesome little treat at the end of this that I can't wait to show you guys. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but I didn't. And I'm excited that it's a thing. So let's start with slaves, which may be, despite being the simplest perhaps, and most base part of these units that are being added, these brothers types that are being added, may be one of the most flavorful. So let's go ahead and read it. So it says, whether born into slavery, made into a slave as punishment by law, or taken on a raid into foreign territory and sold to the highest bidder on a slave auction, it's on the back of slaves like these that much of the economy of the city-states is built. But slaves are not just cheap labor in peacetime, they're also used as expendable troops in war. You'll see here a nice little mix of you see, you've also got like a guy, he's kind of like a white guy from the north, right? Mixed with some of the more Arabian-looking gentlemen here. So it makes me wonder, it makes me consider whether or not, because of this kind of description here, is it possible to get a slave and then to find out, they have traits that are something like, they may be a slave, but maybe they were noblemen before. They were just captured and turned into slaves. So you might get like brothers who, instead of just being like some poor slave, you recruit them for super cheap. Turns out these guys are absolute monsters. That would be cool. Just like, boom, surprise, you got a hedge knight. That would be awesome. Anyway, life is cheap in the South, as the saying goes, and nothing makes this harsh reality sink in better than how the city-states treat their slaves. In battle, they're usually sent first against the enemy to tire out their lines before the real battle begins. They're poorly armed, many just carrying tools used as improvised weapons, and rely on swarming, flanking, and overwhelming the enemy. They have poor morale and flee easily, but killing or breaking them does not affect the morale of any city-state troops that aren't slaves themselves. In fact, the city-state troops have no qualms about friendly fire when it comes to slaves, and they may seize the opportunity that slaves provide by locking down the enemy and fire their ranged weapon into the thick of battle. That is intense. That is intense and unique. I love it. So, one of the easiest ways to break, let's say, greenskins during the greenskin invasion is to kill just to pop off goblins. You take your war bows, you just pop off goblins. The greenskins, with their lowish morale, the orcs start to break, right? The warriors start to get scared because you've killed a ton of goblins. Or during a noble war, right? You start killing the easiest targets, right? The guys who are in the back, the billmen with low armor, you pick those guys off. And then some of the frontliners get scared. The hedge knights get scared. Whatever the case may be. There's a strategy behind picking off the easiest guys. Probably even better than that would be talking about like the barbarians, killing thralls, right? Thralls are super easy to kill compared to the chosen. So for these guys, that's not an issue. And the fact that they will ignore, very similar to like Skaven, which is hilarious from Warhammer, that they'll ignore their own guys and just commit to friendly fire. I'm wondering, it says fire their ranged weapons. I'm wondering if they're like alluding perhaps to something other than like that upgraded staff sling we talked about in the last episode. Maybe they're even talking about firebombing you. They'll send in a bunch of slaves to tie you down, and then they'll all just chuck grenades at you. That would be pretty gnarly, right? The slaves just get burned up as a sacrifice to lock you down. We'll have to see, but it'll make for some unique battles. I'm also curious just how many slaves are they going to throw at you, right? Is it going to be like 20 slaves with like a couple of conscripts? As we get down here, we'll see all the different types of units. Yeah, officers is the next one coming up. But let's go over conscripts first before we speculate too deeply. I'm also seeing a new shield type. In the pictures here, anything new? We see these little turbans, right? Different low tier helmets. I don't see any different weapons. We're going to look at the pictures because there are a lot of little cool hidden tidbits of information that we can glean from them. So conscripts. Citizens of the great city-states enjoy privileges that neither slaves nor outsiders do. For example, they have the opportunity to conduct business with the legal certainty of a codified law and can even hire legal counsel. In turn, they also have certain obligations to their state. Having to pay taxes is one such obligation, but another for every adult male citizen is either mandatory military service or paying a hefty sum into the state's coffers to be exempt. The Council of Viziers may decide to conscript the citizens for the defense of the city-state or for otherwise protecting and furthering the interests of the state. In practice, this can mean anything between border skirmishes with other states, doomed punitive expeditions deep into the deserts to hunt down raiders, and crushing slave rebellions. Conscripts make up the bulk of the military force of the city-states. They have received some military drill and are most often dressed in a distinct southern armor made of several layers of linen, which I think is this one here, if I had to guess. This looks, to me, I've seen this type of armor before. You'll even see it like in Roman types of armor. It's leather, right? Leather kind of strapped together. Like a leather cuirass, I think would be the correct term, perhaps. So the layers of linen are called a linothorax, probably because it covers your chest, right? That is relatively cheap to produce. If they don't have access to helmets, they choose to wrap cloth around their heads to protect against the sun. The color and patterns of these head wraps are often linked to a particular region of the South, and one familiar would know what place a Southern conscript calls home by his headwear alone. Just before battle lines clash, conscripts employ a unique weapon of the city-states. It's one reason why they are a military power to be reckoned with, and you'll learn about it next week in detail. Get out of here. A unique weapon of the city-states. Before the battle... Do they have cannons, these jerks? Let's think about what it could be for just a second. Could they have cannons? Do they get some sort of opening salvo ability? Do they have some sort of flare, right? Something that reveals the entire map to them. The AI knows exactly where you are. Is that a thing? Damn, I don't know. That's all I can think of, really. We've kind of already done war dogs. I don't know if they would just like unleash a bunch of war dogs on you right at the beginning. Yeah, I'm thinking they have some kind of sort of like cannon ability, which would be really intense. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Man, now they got me speculating. I love these. Whoever makes these dev blogs, you're awesome, man. You constantly keep me wanting to come back every Friday. So let's look at the picture here and try and see what's up. So a linothorax, I think, are these, right? You see here they have like male accents on the shoulders, but I could swear these are like made of linen, so they would be like a thick cloth. I think these are made of leather. Perhaps I am wrong. Maybe these are the linothorax, and I've just been off about what they're made out of, but I could have sworn these are leather. There's only those two types that I see here. But the helmets themselves, they look so quality, right? So you've got the standard like turbans, right? Perhaps on archers and billmen. Then we have here some different types of helmets. They look quality, like I said. If these are like early to mid-tier guys, perhaps mostly mid-game guys that you're going to see, if these helmets are great, maybe they're going to be some desirable gets, right? You want to kind of hunt these guys down and take these from them. I'm very curious what type of range they'll be in. They're mostly male, right? So I wouldn't think they're too amazing. And this one is, you know, it's kind of part turban, part metal on the top, part skull cap. So I'm thinking these might be excellent crossbowmen and archer helmets. I'm hoping that the new stuff finds a niche. That's all I really want. Is to replace some of the current, arms and armor that sit in a hierarchy that they've kind of occupied since the beginning of the game. And then of course we have these new shield types. They're very cool looking. I don't know exactly what to call these types of shields. I haven't done any like preemptive research or anything like that. And we see the new weapons, obviously, that we went over in the last episode, but we can kind of get a feel for what tier of weapons they'll be rocking. So kind of a 2.0 tier, if you will. These weapons are pretty strong, so are these. pole maces and the sword lances, I think is what they called them. Yeah, so these guys are going to be pretty tough regardless. They'll no doubt be able to take a hit. And then, dang, I hope you didn't see that. So, officers. They look amazing. Officers of the city-states are mostly made up of the wealthy who would have enough funds to buy themselves free of conscription, but seek a career commanding troops in the military by their own volition. A victorious commander will accrue influence and gravitas, and some officers may consider the army but a stepping stone in a fledgling political career. Considerably better armed than conscripts, officers carry finely crafted mail and lamellar armor with intricate southern ornaments into battle. Naturally, all armors can also be bought, looted, and worn by your own men in the game. Have we seen these? These are like two-handed scimitars. I think this is like a little secret reveal. Afterwards, we'll go back to the Southern Arms and see what we can see. I don't think we've seen these yet. That's pretty cool. They've also got these awesome shields, which I speculated about their kind of tier ranking in the last episode, that they would be a bit higher up, and I think this kind of proves it. These dudes are very well armored, it appears. I would guess that their armor is around, like, for some of them in the 230s and up. Their helmets look legit. They're probably, 200, probably 215 and up. This one looks easily like in the 260s. I'm sure they have different ranges, 250s here for these two, but for these, perhaps 215. That's just my speculation, of course. But I think it's probably pretty accurate. These being the heavier of the armors, perhaps. These being the lighter, this one being kind of a middle. Maybe this one's like a 210. These are like maybe even a 260 now that I look at it. And then, I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly what's what. This looks like it might be heavier armor than this one. Just has kind of like these silk shoulder pads on, or silk like robe around it. So it's kind of harder to tell. We'll see, of course, once the game comes out. But cool little like side secret reveal here with these big swords. Very Aladdin. Very cool looking though. I have to imagine they will be very powerful weapons as well. So last but not least, guys, the assassins. I don't know how I didn't see this coming, but they are very cool looking. And let's go ahead and read what they have to say. So, members of a secretive, ritualistic cult, assassins deal in death and provide murder as a service. They have no political ambition beyond the continued survival of their cult and that of their warped philosophy, and so act only in service to their parties, like individual city-states. They're not encountered roaming on the world map, but exclusively as part of contracts and events. In battle, assassins wear traditional black robes over finely crafted mail. Many also choose to exchange their own face for that of their master and founder of their cult, the Old Man on the Mountain, by wearing metal face masks. Assassins have a nimble combat style and employ a variety of alchemical contraptions like flash pots and smoke pots to daze their opponents and move freely between them, only to then use a Quetzal dagger from the last episode, unique dagger, or a new, I shouldn't say it's unique, but it's a new type of dagger that doesn't have the kind of the puncture ability of the standard dagger, only to then use a quaddle dagger for greater impact on their debilitated victim. So they try to injure you. They throw grenades, which is pretty cool. They seem to be extremely lightly armored, but perhaps, like they said, there's mail underneath. They won't be as lightly armored as at first appears. These masks are amazing. But like they said, they're not going to just be walking around like Alps at night. They will probably be part of ambushes, be part of like cool contracts. Maybe you help them. Maybe they hunt you. Who knows? Maybe once you start like making enemies of certain city-states, assassins start coming after you, much like mercenary companies can kind of do in the north. Very cool. I can't wait to see them like pop smoke. So the reason, if you heard me like stumble over something for a second there, the Old Man in the Mountain, I didn't really stumble over it. I kind of paused for dramatic effect. The Old Man on the Mountain. If you haven't seen Marco Polo on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's one of those shows that you watch it and you're like, man, I bet they spent $10 million on this one episode. It's such quality. The acting is unbelievable, mostly from all of the supporting characters. The main guy who plays Marco Polo is great too. But the guy who plays Kubla Khan, is amazing. He's also in Doctor Strange, if you're interested in who I'm talking about. Um, anyway, he like carries the whole show by himself. But I think in the second season, there's a whole thing about the old man in the mountain where they go to try to meet him. And anyway, but it's super cool. Assassins, awesome. Had no idea they were coming. We get a glimpse at some new weapon types. We get to see the kind of the 3 tiers of the city-state troops, and we learn that there might be some, I don't know, why they're a military power to be reckoned with. Whether that's a cannon, more gunpowder related stuff, we'll have to find out later. But guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm not gonna go over coronavirus and stuff in every episode, but I just want you guys to stay safe and remember what's really important. Battle Brothers. No, I'm just joking. Family, friends, your health, all that stuff trumps just about everything else. And Battle Brothers is awesome. Just remember, we're all people. We got stuff in common. We're all just guys across the world waiting for an awesome video game to play and watch. So anyway, guys, take care. I'm Brett. Goodtalk Gaming is my channel. If I said that already, I apologize. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Friday. Take care, y'all.